Okay, and at this time, our session is being recorded. Welcome, everyone. This session is Preparing for Post-High School Education, College Financial Aid Information Night. My name is Lorna Gilmore. I am a Family Partnership Specialist in the Equity and Family Partnership Belonging Department in the Issaquah School District. And along with me, you have
Hello, my name is Lisa Neighbors, and I am the CTE Director, that's Career and Technical Education Director for the Issaquah School District. I also supervise college and career specialists at each high school.
Elisa. So today, the purpose of this information session is to help parents better understand what some of the post-high school education options are, learn what types of financial aid are available for students going to colleges, universities, or vocational schools, or other technical schools. Also to explain the difference between the types of aids offered to students to help pay for education, including grants, loans, and scholarships. There are two big financial aid forms families can fill out, and that's the FAFSA and the WASFA. And we'll talk more about that. We'll talk about eligibility and how to apply, a little bit about the timeline, and a couple of programs such as the WAGAP, which is a Washington Guaranteed Admissions Program, some scholarship programs such as College Bound, and also we'll be providing a lot of resources. Honestly, the key part to this session is providing families with resources so they can get some of the high level information and then know where to go from there as they're delving more into supporting their child through financial aid for college. So post-high school options. One of the big differences for many families, a key thing to note, is that your child has many options once they get through with high school. Their options include attending a college or a university for a 4-year program. They could go to a public university or they can go to a private university. They could also attend community college or vocational school. Technical vocational schools include your technical colleges or trade schools. And very often at those programs, they're going to get an associate's degree, which is usually a 2-year program. They can earn certificates or credentials as part of their technical school or training. Students also sometimes enlist in the military service. Some get a job and some take a gap year so that they can better decide what they want to do before they go into college because they're just not quite sure. And the thing is, whatever they decide, please note that all of this information regarding financial aid will still apply because they'll still be able to apply for financial aid and go into college even if they don't do it directly out of high school. So that's one of the key things because I know that as a child growing up in India and for many children parents who grew up in certain countries, especially in Asia, once you get out of high school, you really have to go to college. And then if you don't go then, there's a slim chance you will be admitted into a college afterwards in a couple of years. And that's not the case in the US. In the US, you can still apply for college a couple of years after. So I just want to know that that is an option, and it is one of the differences between the US school systems and college systems and other countries' school systems. Zello.
Sorry, I was having trouble finding my mute button. Okay. So Zello is a tool that students use during both middle and high school. Zello helps students take some assessments to better understand themselves. So it includes things they enjoy doing, like activities, things they're good at, such as academic subjects. And the students then go from there into exploring careers that are related. And from the career exploration, the students will then save some careers and take a look at what kind of educational opportunities might be available to pursue those careers. So, 7th and 8th grade is when students will do exploration of how they would get into a career of interest. And then students really begin building a plan from there through high school to get to that post high school pathway and into the career that they're interested in going into.
And go ahead.
Nope.
Families, you have an opportunity to also have a Zello account. And many times parents tell me, oh, my child doesn't know what to do. And I know several of you have joined us and you have children that are in middle school or children who are in ninth grade, and you're just wondering what are the opportunities, what are the options, how do you help your child decide? And the thing is, honestly, the school district does a lot, or the schools, I should say, middle and high schools do a lot to help your child reflect on what their interests are and what they want to do. Students have activities and assignments in their homeroom classes or their flex classes in high school to encourage them to figure out what they want. And through doing these career pathway activities, they do a lot of reflection on their own to try to figure out what their interests are. And then they can go and look at that field and kind of explore to see, is this something I want to do? Yes or no? And so forth. And personally, for me as a parent, I know after my daughter did her activities, I used my Zello for Parents account to try to figure out what she was interested in, and so that she and I could have more robust conversations about, oh, I saw that you were interested in this. Tell me more. Would you be interested in going to this college? So my role now is more of a mentor, kind of a coach for her to help her think what her interests are. So that's what I did using my information that I saw in a Zello account as a parent. But you don't have to go in there if you don't have a Zello for parent account. You can ask them what they have done. But also using that account, I was able to look at different colleges that she showed interest in because, sometimes in high school, kids are not sharing as much information as they could. And so it was interesting to me to say, oh, wow, I didn't realize she was interested in that college, or, oh, I didn't know she had this, that her career pathway, her little navigators showed that she was interested in this field. And so it's kind of interesting and great to be able to have these guided questions based on the results that the kids have in their Zello account. And so just letting you all know, and also Zello is part of the High School and Beyond program, and there are a lot of assignments in there. So it's not just a tool for kids to help, which is great, but it's also required. And at the end of their senior year, please make sure that the child has completed all of those high school and beyond activities, because that is going to be checked to ensure that they are going to be eligible for graduation as one of the high school graduation requirements. So it's a tool, but it's also super worth it.
Yeah,
At least that's my.
exactly. It's a really helpful way to facilitate good conversations with your children. I would add one note that right this minute, we are having some trouble with the Zello family accounts. So some parents' accounts have been unlinked from their children, and we are working that out. So if you fill out the link for the Zello parent account, we may just have a delay on getting those fulfilled right now.
And remember, I will be sending this to you, or if you don't fill out the feedback, no worries. By Friday, you can go to my website and you will be able to, or the Family Partnership website, and you'll be able to see this link. It's in your email with the Zoom link, but the resource page is there, and you can click on this link and get that information. So,
All right. So if your child decides that they're interested in pursuing a career that requires a 2-year technical college training, a vocational school, or a certificate, there are a few things they can do throughout their high school career in order to prepare for that. So first of all, early in their career, they want to definitely work on getting those courses that are required to graduate high school. Those are all listed on the graduation requirements page at each high school's website. And you want to make sure that as the student is going through their high school and beyond plan and completing the activities with that they are trying out maybe some courses that are offered that align to the student's pathways. They can kind of find out if they're actually interested in doing that thing. Some of those exploratory activities that happen early in high school are really important to helping a student guide their own pathway as they go through. Excuse me. During 11th grade, you just want to make sure the student is on track to graduate. So they might want to check in with their high school counselor, High school counselors do check in with juniors every in their 11th grade year in order to make sure that those students are on the right track to get graduated. Maybe consider through the high school and beyond plan activities in the 11th grade year, students will take a look at some different college and community college, technical college, and four-year university options that they might consider. So they'll take a look at the majors that they're interested in pursuing and then save some colleges to their high school and beyond plan through the Zello. That might be a good opportunity for you parents to get in there and take a look and then have those conversations with your child about what programs and colleges they're pursuing. Between 11th and 12th grade, consider taking any summer courses that might be necessary or courses of interest. Wannick Summer School is offered every summer and has a variety of career-related opportunities for students to try out. You might want to begin gathering documents for your financial aid application, and then be sure to update your Zello and high school and beyond plan so that it accurately reflects what you are hoping, what the student rather is hoping to do after they finish high school. During first semester of 12th grade, those financial aid forms, and we'll get to those open up in by October 1st every year. Again, confirm that your student is on track to graduate. They can use Family Access to check that. Meet with the school counselor as necessary if you need to catch up on some graduation requirements. And then in second semester, typically community and technical colleges are on rolling admission. And what that means is they have open admission for students in any quarter of any year. So during second semester, you would want to begin the application to the community or technical college of your choosing.
Now, a lot of this is going to be similar for four-year colleges, just a bit more or quite a bit more details.
Yeah. So as mentioned, the same things basically for 9th and 10th grade. The difference is that for the 9th and 10th grade, there are certain courses a student needs to focus on in order to be eligible for a four-year college. The college academic distribution requirements include things like taking biology, chemistry, or physics at least once, as well as certain other specific classes are called out. In the 9th and 10th grade, it is a good idea for students to take the PSAT so that they can practice a test like that before they have to take it for high stakes. They do want to make sure that they're taking some courses that are rigorous and challenging, but also ensuring that they find the balance between having challenge and rigor and being able to still be a teenager and have a social life and do sports and social activities and stuff like that. During the 11th grade, be sure that students are maintaining higher grades because for a four-year college or university, the grades do matter more. If required by the college the student wants to go to, be sure to enroll for and take SAT or ACT exams. And then make sure that the student is looking at colleges that offer the major or program that the student is interested in pursuing. I have had experiences where students have gotten into a college and then realized that the thing they actually wanted to do wasn't offered by that college. So they wind up transferring after a year or two, which is fine. It just can make it a little bit more difficult to meet graduation requirements in four-year colleges sometimes. And then be sure that the student is still participating in extracurricular activities like clubs and sports, and getting all of those fun extracurriculars that help support a well-rounded human being onto their resume. Between 11th and 12th grade, consider some college tours, maybe consider taking some college classes and exploring the program the student is interested in pursuing if there's something available. Again, same thing, get ready to start completing your financial aid form, so gathering documents, updating the Zello account, and then any volunteer or work activities that might be necessary. During 12th grade, be sure and the student needs to request letters of recommendation if they're needed from school counselors and teachers. Excuse me. Be sure to complete the applications in the fall. The College and Career Centers also offer college visits. So if a student has questions about a specific college, they can go to the College and Career Center during that college visit and talk to a representative from that college. Make sure during first semester of 12th grade that you're on track for graduation and that you are on track to finish all of the college academic distribution requirements or the requirements to be admitted into the college you're interested in attending. And do talk to your school counselor and make a list of questions that the student might have or things that they might need to complete before they finish high school. And then, of course, extracurriculars and completion of the high school and beyond plan as it is required for the student to graduate.
And yes, it's a lot, but several people asked for a timeline. So do note that we'll be able to get this as a document so you can have a general overview. For those of you who are with us and have children that are seniors, I will admit to you the first semester is a lot. My child currently is a senior, going to graduate at the end of this year, and it's been a lot. So I would definitely recommend that you try to get as much as you can planned in the summer, check some things off, like ensuring that your child is going to graduate and making sure you're on top of what classes they may need. You're making sure that your child has already taken the SATs or ACTs or signed up for it, because you really want to take that test in August, September, if it's going to matter. Because note, many colleges do not require SATs or ACTs, so maybe that's not something that you want to turn in if your college is not asking for it to be required. But getting your list of colleges, completing the Common App, those documentations, that's definitely, kids start doing that in September and writing the many essays and applications that they have to do. Also, for letters of recommendation in the high schools, the counselors and the teachers always want prior notice, and the teachers will have a date of when they need the child to tell them. I would actually put that at the end of 11th grade, because I know my daughter asked her teachers at the end of 11th grade if they'd be willing, so they could have just have a general idea, or the teacher could say, hey, I don't accept that many kids, because some teachers do put limits of how many letters of recommendations they'll give. So just kind of keep that in mind if you are a junior and below. And if you're a senior, yes, it's a lot. I recognize that, and I have lots of empathy for you. So admissions after high school. So you have several options. For your colleges and universities, GPA is definitely going to matter. The types of classes for competitive colleges will matter. So they're going to look if you've taken some rigorous classes, such as honors classes, AP classes, IB classes. What are your extracurricular activities? What are your outside worldly experiences of the child, such as are they working? Do they have a job? Or are they busy with volunteering? Or they're in some kind of sport. So the schools are usually looking for well-rounded students. And so they're looking for what do they have beyond the class in school. Depending on the colleges, and not all of the colleges ask, but some colleges ask for letters of recommendations. So it's letters of recommendation. Student essays is actually a key thing. Nearly every college, even the Common App, has a prompt that they have the student complete, and some colleges may have a slightly different prompt. So that is an part of it. Common App is accepted by most of the colleges. So the good news is, when I was a child, many moons ago, we had to apply for each college. Now it's kind of all in one common application, and then you just click on which specific college you want to share that information with, and there's usually a fee per college. And then there's another kind of coalition app too, and then some colleges may be directly applying through the college. So you definitely have to see how the college wants you to apply. For two-year colleges and technical programs, it's usually directly on the college or institution webpage where you're going to apply. But two-year colleges and programs, usually it's a rolling admittance, and you can usually apply all the way into June, July, sometimes
even August and September. Yeah.
You might not get the top classes you're signing up for, like especially like Bellevue College or something, but hey, you can still do it and still sign up for some classes if you're flexible. but it's rolling. So 2-year colleges, no worry. So if your child is not quite sure, don't worry about it. There are many options for 2-year programs. And you remember, many of the 2-year programs like Bellevue College, you can do some classes and then you can transfer at any time to, you're going to have to apply, of course, but you can transfer those credits to a 4-year college. So it's not like I'm going to a 2-year and now it's over. No, it is a constant thing. You can always, in the United States, one of the thing I love the most is you can always get an education. You can always go back to school. You can be 40 or something. You can be 50 something and go back to school and get a degree. So the cost of college, there are many factors to consider. So we always want to make sure parents are ready and thinking about that as they're looking at the tuition, because very often parents look at the tuition of how much it costs for the tuition, but it's not just that, because nowadays books are tremendously expensive. There are very often other fees. Some colleges also have now made requirements where the freshmen have to live in a dorm on campus just for safety and making sure that they'll be more successful. So you'll have to include that in the cost of the college. If they're living in a dorm, then you're looking at the meal plans for the dorm. And then, of course, you have all the other expenses. If your child is planning on coming home for Thanksgiving or other holidays, parking, school supplies, entertainment, just living on campus can be expensive. So very often the university is going to give you, or the college or whichever school will give you kind of a cost of tuition, expenses, fees, or dorm. They usually give you a general estimate of how much it's going to cost. And we'll talk more about that estimate that they'll give you later on. So another factor that also impacts cost of tuition is going to be if the student is a resident of that state. So all the colleges in Washington, our students are going to pay Washington state fees because most of them hopefully all of them are residents. If you go to an out-of-state college, let's say California or Wisconsin or something, then you're going to be paying out-of-state fees. However, there are several colleges that are part of something called WUI, which is a program that allows students in Washington State to go to out-of-state colleges for the price, like a reduced tuition. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at factors that affect tuition. Lisa, did you want to add something? Oh, I thought you were you probably
No,
just
I'm
asked some questions.
mouthing to my, yeah.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so the next one we're going to go over are the different grants, because honestly, as a student myself, 30 some years ago, I did not know that my mom had to learn all of these different things. And as my child was approaching college age, I realized I needed to clarify what I knew about the difference between grants and scholarships and loans and work study and all of those different things. So let's quickly go through all the different vocabulary. So what is a grant? A grant is a need based on income, and it's money from either the federal, the state, or institution based on financial need. And it does, this is an important one, does not need to be repaid. And a big one and a very common one for those students who need financial aid that they'll see on their financial aid package from the college that we'll talk towards the end of the presentation is a Pell Grant. And you'll see if your child qualified for a Pell Grant and how much money your child is getting for that Pell Grant. Another one is a scholarship, and all of you are familiar, or most of you are familiar with that. And a scholarship is something that could be either merit-based because they have a really high GPA or certain activities, or they're in certain sports, many things that they worked really hard for this item and they, based on their skill, competition, ability, intelligence, GPA, receive this merit-based scholarship. Or they might also get an income-based scholarship because they had financial need. Now, scholarships vary. There are scholarships for McDonald's, scholarships based if your work might have a scholarship that your child might be able to apply for. Scholarships are different organizations, Kiwanis, so maybe through ISF, or maybe there's something in the PTSA at your school, or there are many scholarships and there are many resources. So the many parents in your registration forms that help me learn more about where to apply for scholarships. So you can go to our links that are on the bottom of the slide to look for sources for scholarships. And scholarships usually, well, scholarships you do not have to pay back. Many scholarships do have some kind of eligibility that you have to keep a GPA of this or that, or you have to keep on doing blah, blah, blah to keep on getting that scholarship. Scholarships can be for 1 year or they could be for 4 years. And if it's less than 1 year, there might be more applications needed for the student in order to ensure getting additional money. And on the other side of that is the loan. So the loan is same as for car or house or other. It's federal. So many of them are federal loans and student loans. Some of them can be private loans. Some of the loans are given to the student. So the student is taking on these loans that they're going to be responsible for paying. Sometimes in the package, you might be offered a parent loan to take on for your child. The interest rates can vary, the rules for that can vary. So when you get your financial aid package, you need to research that loan part very carefully. And you do not need to accept the loan. It is just an option that they're giving you. Okay. So the loan is just like a loan for different reasons that you might be looking at getting for a car or refinancing for remodeling or something. So and then a student can be offered the loan or the parent can be offered the loan and the interest rates will vary. And so just keep that in mind as you're reading your package. Work study. The work study is one that I liked and took advantage of as a student and college student because this will also be offered to you in your financial aid package when you apply for FAFSA. And what it's going to say is you qualify to get work study for this amount of money. But to get that money, you have to apply for a job at a college or university. And those jobs are usually, maybe it's helping in the library. Maybe it is helping graduate students with some research, which is what I did. Maybe it is, but it's usually something that the college will post in their job section. Some jobs are off campus, but they're somehow connected with the campus jobs. But very often, most of the work study jobs are working jobs where you work on campus for the university. You get usually a minimum wage or sometimes better, is actually what I got. But it is the money that you earn can be used for your tuition, for your books, and so forth, but it's considered aid. And the reason it's work study is you have a benefit, you have a higher chance of getting that job because you are part of that work study eligible person. Okay, so that's work study. And now we're going to go into applying for financial aid, and we're going to talk about the two main aid forms that you're going to apply for. Your child might be applying for, which is FAFSA, FAFSA, Free Application for Federal Student Aid, or WASFA, Washington Application for State Financial Aid. And Lisa is going to go through each one of those two because depending on who you are, you might apply for one or the other. Just keep in mind, you're only applying for one.
Right. Thank you. So we will start with the most common. Most people will apply for the FAFSA, or the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This application has to be completed in order to qualify for any loans, grants, or other financial aid from the institution your student will be attending or from the federal government itself. A Pell Grant, for example, is a federal grant that will come to the school from the federal government, and you will show qualification through the FAFSA form. So in the FAFSA, it is not important what your student's achievement is. Your need will be only financial based. It'll be based on the income and the assets that the person who's the primary caretaker, I guess, has. So the only people who should apply for FAFSA are students and their guardians who are U.S. citizens or legal residents of the U.S. If you are not a green card holder, but you do have a social security number, you need to use the link on here to double check if you will be eligible or not. It varies based on certain situations. And if you need further assistance than that, please reach out to the College and Career Center in your high school. So the parent, oh, go
I
ahead.
just want to clarify. I think you accidentally said student and or guardian who are U.S. citizens, just students.
Right, I'm sorry. Yes, I misspoke. So it's just the student. The person receiving the aid has to be a U.S. citizen. The parent does not have to be a U.S. citizen. So I believe this says December 1st. The FAFSA that was yeah, that was
Yes.
an error. So the FAFSA has already opened. It opened in October 1st this year. And the information you enter into the FAFSA form will be from your taxes for last year, so for 2024. And then the aid will be eligible for the student going into the 2026-2027 school year. It is best to apply for the FAFSA as early as possible because the earlier you apply, the more aid is available. And so as time goes on, less and less money may be offered as it's taken up by other students. Some schools have early deadlines to apply for financial aid, so please check with the institution that your student will be attending in order to see if they have a deadline that's earlier than the regular deadline. And then you do need to reapply. So you have to fill out the FAFSA form annually as long as your student needs the aid. So all through their years at the institution they'll be attending up until they graduate, be sure to fill out the FAFSA form every year in order to maintain eligibility for all of the aid that would come through that. So excuse me, give me just a sec here. So just a high level overview of the FAFSA application process. Students need to begin by opening a studentaid.gov account. And then the student will send an invitation to the parent or guardian who cares for them. So if the parents are still married and file their taxes jointly, they will fill out one application, they'll get one invitation. If the parents are married but file separately, each parent will receive an invitation. And if the parents are divorced, only the one who provides the most financial support of the child will fill out an application. And as you go through the application, it does ask prompting questions and helps the child figure out which guardians to send the invitations to. Once the parent invitations have been sent, the student will then begin their portion of the application. And then the parents will eventually receive an invitation and get into their application and fill out their portion, which is mostly the financial portion. Be sure to follow the prompts. It is fairly easy. It asks pretty clear questions. But if you have any specific questions or concerns as you're going through the FAFSA process, please be sure to reach out to the college and career specialist at your high school. And those people have the resources to help you either help you answer the question or help you find somebody who might be able to help you answer the question. One tip on step 6 is there is a question about family size. You definitely want to say no and make sure the green banner has the right household size. Because what happens is the FAFSA will pull information off of your tax return and it may not pull it accurately. So it's better to fix it manually. It's about the number of dependents in the household.
And we are getting many questions as to what to do if the parents are divorced. And so within one of the slides, I'll show you one of the links, and it says we have actually it's right here. Maybe it's another one, but I'll point it out as to which parent should apply.
It did have it on the slide we were just on. It was on the slide we were just on. Oh, there you go.
There's another one here that says use this link to determine which parent's income to use. Because again, if your parents are divorced, then, oh, sorry, if you're divorced from your husband, the person over here, it says, who supported the most economically. So whoever is giving the most financial assistance and paying for the most amount of the child's care is the one. And it's hard to determine that, and you and your spouse may also not agree. And so that's where this conversation lies, and use that link to figure it out. For those parents who are filing jointly or even separately, uh, once you, because a lot of this information is coming straight out of your taxes, honestly, it's not that hard to complete all the forms because a lot of it is just your tax information being dumped into that account. So check that out, okay? And then, okay, so next one. So because I was noticing so many questions on there, I did add some more resources for parents. So just note, once you go to the website, uh, you're going to see that there's a lot of support. There's a number you can call. There are tools that you can use to kind of figure out how to do it. It helps you decide. There's a tool over here to help you decide who counts as a parent on the form, who needs to fill it out. So there are a lot of aids on the official site. So that's one thing I will tell you. A lot of people will try to maybe even, say, give me money and I'll help you fill out these forms and blah, blah, blah. But before you fall for any of that, the two things I recommend is using the tools on the federal site itself. And this is just a form, a tool to help you figure out who should complete the form, and it asks you questions. And as it's asking questions, it'll help you figure it out. There are also some documents on who should complete it and a lot of information about it. So there's a lot of support over here, and there's like a little AI robot thing that'll also answer questions for you. So there are many resources you can use to get this information. So just note that there is resource. So if you can't, if these online resources don't work, you can ask one of the college and career centers, and then maybe they can give you advice as who to go next. But hopefully between those two, you should be able to figure out who fills out the parent information, or if you stumble on something to get support for that.
Okay. So the other one is the WASFA form, and so that's the Washington Application for State Financial Aid. So please remember, Lorna did stress earlier that you should only fill out one form or the other, not both. So if you are not eligible to fill out the FAFSA form, that's when you would fill out the WASFA form. So for example, if your student has a temporary protection status, if they don't have a green card, if they don't have a social security number, those are the types of students who would go through the WASFA form instead. The parent's immigration status is never important in either the FAFSA or the WASFA. This application is also free. So one thing to note is that the students do have to prove that they do have to say they have lived in Washington State for at least 1 year before they begin their freshman year in college to qualify for the aid. But they qualify for many similar aid options, including work study programs and state grants. Students can choose to accept or not accept those offers. The application opened at the same time as the FAFSA form on October 1st this year. Same as the FAFSA, this also needs to be completed annually. So every year that the child is attending school, please be sure to update the WASFA form. Adults seeking continuing education can also apply for the WASFA. So if perhaps you yourself are looking to learn a new vocation or occupation, the WASFA might be an option for you as well. And then students may need to complete an affidavit to qualify for in-state tuition if the student is an undocumented or a non-immigrant visa holder.
Yes. And so WASFA and FAFSA both have already opened. I will change the date on those two slides when I send you the email. Also to note, one of the questions was asked was, what if we are not the legal guardians of the child who and the parents are out of country, or um, it's the parent who is a legal guardian needs to complete the document. So even if the parent is living outside of the country and the student is has a social security number and they're completing the FAFSA, then the parent, even if they're outside the country, they're going to have to fill out the rest of the forms. And then there are some questions and things that they can go through on the website as if they have questions, because there are so many unique scenarios for families. And so we won't be able to take time to answer each of those unique scenarios. So you can go to the studentaid.gov website and get some of that information for your unique situation. So, and this slide kind of goes into a little bit more about the student should not use their parents' income information if they're an independent applicant. But who is an independent applicant is also complex. That's usually students at 24 years old, or students who are, unhomed, or if there's specific things for how a student can be identified as independent. And so make sure you know whose parent income to share for the two forms. And also for families, note that the FAFSA ID can take 5 days. So if you're looking to start it, fill out that first part now, and then it'll take about 5 days for you to be able to actually fill out the FAFSA. And your child should start the process first, and then they should invite you to complete the forms. For the WASFA, once a student completes the online application, they must send an email to the parent asking them to sign the form. So it's important that the form will not be considered complete until the parents sign the form at the end of the application process also. So make sure you're completing all those little small details. So just a reminder, FAFSA is for students and is a U.S. citizen or legal resident. Green card holders are usually considered legal residents for most part, but there are sometimes questions if they are or are not. And if you're not quite sure if your green card holder is eligible for FAFSA, you can go to this link to determine if you can apply. There's also another section over here who can apply for that. And then for WASFA, students without a social security number, when the student cannot provide the information from the parent, even if the student is a citizen or a legal resident. So that's usually for students whose parents might not be filling out taxes or have all that information, and they cannot get that data that is required in FAFSA. So maybe WASFA is a better option for you, and you can use the tools on the website to determine which one is better for you. So the tax document to show salary of parents from 2 years before the school year that they are applying for aid is needed. Document showing an investment account is needed to fill out the form. Student ID, such as a driver's license or an approved state ID. Passport will work. Case number, if you're receiving SNAP, also is very beneficial for the forms. And then list of colleges that you're applying for, because once your child is in Common App and applying for colleges, the colleges they apply for should have been put in your FAFSA account or WASFA account. So then the colleges can pull directly and kind of look and see how much aid the child needs, so that when they're looking at the package, they can determine how much money to give that child. Because a child going to, let's say, Western Washington University or WSU may not need as much money as a child going to, let's say, Santa Clara or USC in California, because the cost of those colleges is so much higher. That package from that university might have a different grant or money or aid offered to the child than the letter coming from WSU or UW or something like that. So the colleges sent the aid information, not FAFSA or WASFA. We'll talk more about that in a second. So the financial aid is offered by the college or the university. So once check with the colleges or universities where you're applying to see if they have their own financial aid application form. Some colleges you can also apply for additional aid through their website directly. But most of them ask for WASFA, well, Washington state ones ask for WASFA, and federal ones are going to ask for FAFSA forms to be completed. Private schools usually offer more financial aid, so be sure to check the financial aid requirements. Because private schools are so much more expensive, usually part of their acceptance package, they may offer you aid depending on your FAFSA account or how much your income was. Because again, it's income based. College Bound. College Bound is a program where Washington State students that qualified for free and reduced lunch in grade 7 or 8, when they apply for their aid, FAFSA or WASFA, that's a typo, then that information automatically goes into the database where the kids were getting free and reduced lunch. And then based on that, they would qualify for money from College Bound. And so when you go to the College Bound website, it'll tell you if you are eligible or who all were eligible. So the main thing was your child eligible for free and reduced lunch in 7th or 8th grade? Another opportunity for a scholarship is called the Washington State Opportunity Scholarship, and that's about $2,500, and it supports students that are mainly going into high demand trades. So that's usually a lot of trade schools, STEM and healthcare credentials. So this is a lot of technical college students, vocational school kids, also for colleges. And it's mainly to create a college to career pipeline for those students who are not very well represented in certain fields, such as maybe some women or students of color or first generation kids whose parents have never attended college and they're trying to create opportunities for more kids to go to college if their parents had never gone to college, or more people to go into certain fields because those fields are traditionally not well represented by either women or students of color or people whose parents did not get a college education previously.
I would add on and say that if a student qualifies for the Washington State Opportunity Scholarship, $2,500 will cover most, if not all, of the tuition for a career or a community and technical college in the state of Washington for the first year.
So that is quite an impressive aid if you're going to a technical school or vocational school or such. And it is to encourage that. Someone asked, is there a maximum income limit? And I can't answer that. People also often ask, I make so and so money, should I apply for the FAFSA or not? And I cannot answer that either.
I would recommend you go ahead and apply, because it also opens the door to other opportunities for students in through the college that they apply to go to.
I actually don't know this answer. If a parent has a FAFSA ID because of their own student loans of their own account, should they generate a different one as a parent? I actually don't know the answer to that.
So I think it probably depends on what email it's connected to and how the student invites the parent. I don't know 100% for sure, but I have an FSA ID for my own student loans. And I want to say, I think I read something that said I could use that FSA ID to be a parent on a child, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so that one we're going to have to investigate. So we will look into that a little bit more. Please complete my feedback form and I will ask someone in our department that is much more skilled and works a lot more with these questions. But most of the questions we have is if you have a child, already had a child go through college and you filled it out a couple of years ago, then you already have an account and you're just going to have to reset the password from your older child? That's the question we get most often. And so you have to reset passwords if you have previous children who you helped fill that out for. Okay. And so for Washington State residents, the great news is that as this is what the way it's been explained to me is Washington State residents actually are very lucky that we are eligible for a lot of aid because not only can we qualify for federal aid, but there's also a lot of state money out there and we can apply for. And when we fill out the FAFSA or the WASFA, FAFSA actually, we also qualify for a lot of the aid from Washington State. And if you don't qualify for FAFSA, at least there's money in Washington State for some grant opportunities, especially based on your income. And so also colleges often, if they're expensive, might be giving you scholarships or aid if it's a private school. And because of the cost, they might give you aid to make it more palatable and make it more competitive for those private schools that have a high cost to invite you. There are several kids I know who went to Seattle University or Seattle Pacific University and got support and aid from those colleges because those colleges were more expensive than UW-Bothell or WSU. But the aid, the financial aid package, made it more palatable to go to those private schools. So just keep that in mind. So tips for the college application process. It might be beneficial for students to apply to both private and public school exactly for the reason I just said, that the private school might give you a better aid package because it's private and it's trying to entice you to come to them. Private colleges and institutions have financial aid outside the federal and state funds and offer to students based on financial need. Work with your child to determine outside costs of college attendance, such as transportation, travel, clothing, going out, miscellaneous, because many times parents start their child at a certain college and they realize, wow, it was a lot more than I expected. So don't be surprised. Like really do your research and whatever the amount of money you're saving, just know that you're going to need this more for all of these additional costs. Prepare your child for life in a dorm or apartments if they're moving out. And that first year, very often colleges have that requirement. And if they don't, find out because that's a tremendous saving if they can live with you. And if they're living in an apartment, it's still a cost. And be ready to celebrate this journey with your child. So application choices. Now that some of your children may have already started this where they had to complete and submit college applications were part of the early decision process. I know that several of the early decision colleges had a deadline of November 1st. Some of them might have a deadline of December 1st. So for kids who are applying to early decision, it's very different because those plans are binding and the student must accept and attend that college. And it's a little bit restrictive and they know they want to go to that college. Kids apply for early decision is because sometimes it's the colleges will give you an acceptance because they want you to go and you're then tied to that college. So they know their numbers. It's all a numbers game also for colleges. But many kids usually ask for early action, which is non-binding, but they can get their responses and they have till May 1st to say yes. And then the other one is a regular decision. And so when the application is due, it's a standard deadline to say yes or no. And so early action and regular decision allows students more flexibility to wait to consider all the financial aid offered. So financial aid is important to you. For that reason, financial aid, we recommend either early action or regular decision because then you can get the financial aid letter from all of the colleges and see which financial aid package from the college is the best for your family and your situation. If money is no object and it's specifically my child wants to go to this college, this is where we're going, then early decision is fine. But if money matters, then you might want to consider the other two options. After completing and submitting the financial aid forms, students will get a letter from the college or university, which will tell them they were either accepted or not accepted or they're on a wait list. The college also then accesses their WASFA or their FAFSA, whichever forms they filled out, and then using that information that they're getting from those databases, the college will then send you a letter, your child a letter, which with a financial aid offer to talk about what aid and offer and supports that your child might get. Based on your financial situation, you might either get a lot of aid or not as much aid. So the letter would most likely look like something like this, saying that, yep, for the college, this university is giving you this kind of offer. This is the amount of money that we as a university, because we're private and very expensive, are giving it to you as a grant. So it's kind of the free money. And then SEOG is kind of like SNAP, but for education. So it's like Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. So it's a grant. So it's, again, scholarship, free money. Pell Grant, again, free money. Grant, again, free money. So those are the places where they're giving you money to help pay for the college. Then they've offered your child a work-study program. So then your child can also get this amount of money, which in fall is $750. So they can earn up to $750 to earn more money to pay for their own tuition. So this is the money your child is working for. And then they're offering subsidized and unsubsidized loans. And those are loans, things that you have to pay for. Note, next to all of the things, you have an opportunity to accept or reject, okay? So you can then accept what you want. Of course, you're going to accept all the grants most likely. And then loan is going to be something you and your family decides to do based on what you want to do, based on looking into the loan and, all of the different other aspects of accruing a loan. So this is a financial aid letter. So I keep on talking about you'll get a letter, and sometimes many families wait till the letter to decide if they're going to accept a college or not. It's this. Okay, so yeah, you can get a letter saying you've been accepted to go to the college, but sometimes a sticker shock is hard. And so this letter is often the deciding factor for many children as they're determining which college they're going to go to. So the Washington State Guaranteed Admissions Program, and that program allows students, or it is an amazing program. And honestly, for our district, if you look in your email on November 4th around 11 o'clock at night, late, an email was sent if your child qualified and is eligible for that, which means that they are guaranteed admission to Central Washington, Eastern Washington, University of Washington, Tacoma, Washington State University, Western Washington, oops, I forgot one, Evergreen State. So those 6. And to be eligible for that, so if your child is a junior, sophomore, freshman, note that this is something your child can be eligible for if they maintain a 3.0 GPA or higher, and they have completed all of the CADERs, which is the college academic distribution requirements. So one of the things when your child is in high school, is they're taking a whole bunch of classes. But the question is, are those classes eligible for college admission? Okay, and so you don't need to keep track of it. We do, but you need to make sure you had a conversation with your counselor to make sure you're on track to graduate and that you are eligible for admittance into all of those colleges. And so the students will still have to kind of complete their Common App and click on those buttons, and it tells you what you need to do. But the key thing is they're guaranteed admission because they meet those, and then they have to do some more work in College App. But at least going into the system, it's not a, oh no, will I get accepted at those 6 colleges? They have been accepted, and so that is important. If a student is ineligible for guaranteed admission, you just need to know that just because they did not get that letter on November 4th doesn't mean they cannot apply. They can 100% apply. It just means that they not have that guaranteed part as of now, right? So they can still apply sometime along, and the application process goes all the way, I think, till March at least, if not later, for some of these colleges. For I'm sure a couple of them, it goes into end of June. So just know that it doesn't mean that they can't go to those 6 colleges. It just means that those ones who got the letter are eligible and have to do what they're guaranteed into that program. Someone asked, how do we know which ones are loans? Does it always say loans? It should. And there will be something in there that talks about the fact that it's a loan, because otherwise that's false advertising. So
It has to be made clear when you're accepting a loan as opposed to a grant.
yeah, so here we just have some vocabulary to help you, because one of the things is the CSS profile, and this is very often for Eastern United States colleges, or some colleges when you're through the process of applying for certain universities or colleges, it might say, hey, you also need to fill out this profile, and it's also to get some financial information. The CCS profile, I've been told, is a lot more questions about your financial situation. It's going to ask if you have medical bills. It's going to ask how much money you're paying for your rent, your loan. A lot more information is on the CCS profile, but not everyone has that. So just in case you run into that. So here's just some vocabulary words that you might be interested in when I send it to you. I've included the emails to all of the College and Career Center people. So if you get stuck, you can ask for help. Scholarships. There are a lot of scholarships out there. You really have to do a lot of homework. Your child actually should be doing that if they want to go to college and figure out if they're eligible. But if they go through these search engines, it kind of tells you if what money is out there and how can they apply for that money. And then I've also included a little bit more information on income cutoff, because again, that's the number one question I am asked, and I cannot tell you what the income cutoff is. You're going to read some of these articles and decide. But I also included the WUI thing because I think it's an amazing program, just because a lot of colleges that are outside of Washington State participate in that. I'm just looking for the list of WUI schools. There you go. And so it tells you what are some of the schools that are out there that are part of the WUI program. So much work to get here. So these are some of the participating colleges that are part of the WUI. And so it's nice because then you can go to some of these colleges and still pay. You don't have to pay the out-of-state tuition. And that's the key one, because out-of-state tuition is a lot more expensive. So, a lot of kids might go to like Arizona or Alaska or California state schools because of that program. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to stop sharing. Actually, I'm going to just go backwards a little and answer some questions in the chat before I stop sharing, and I'll turn off the recording. Oh, scholarship slide again. Yes, I'll show the scholarship slide. Okay, and then did the email go on November 4th to the parents or students? To both. You should have received an email to
The
your
November 4th email was just parents. The students would receive one about a week later.
Oh. And their email is in their student email.
Correct. So they would need to check their actual email inbox for their Issaquah School District email account.
Which means that the kids would have received it by November 11th, and the parents would have received it on the 4th. Okay. And what would make you ineligible for, I'm assuming this is Washington guaranteed admission, and that is if your GPA was below 3.0 or you did not have your CATERS, which is your college academic requirements, fulfilled. Okay, and then will I be sharing the recording? Yes, I will be. Please fill out the feedback form, and those families, because I'm not going to send it to everyone who just signed up for the session. I'm only going to send it to the people who are interested in it. So the people who are interested in it would be the ones who complete the feedback form. Let's see, any other questions? What is the difference between a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan? And that's how the government works on them. I would definitely look into, Lisa wants to take that.
Yeah. So a subsidized loan means that the loan will not begin accruing interest until the student graduates, whereas an unsubsidized loan will begin accruing interest from the day it's taken out.
What if you have two students in the college at the same time? Do you need to create two separate FAFSA forms? And the answer
Each
is
each student needs their own, but your information will feed into both.
so when you're filling the forms, you'll see in your account because they'll send you an ID. Because remember, the child starts it first, and then they send you information, and then you use that link to answer questions. So you will be doing something using both of those ID information, but it'll be less complex because you'll have given, it'll be able to get information from one account to the other. Next one is feedback form. Let me put the feedback form again. I'm going to then stop the recording so you can unmute and ask a question if you want. Give me 1 second to do all of this. Okay, I just included the feedback form, and now I'm going to stop the recording.